You've been the president of the UFC for 19 years. How would you describe the 19th year? That was 2019.
The best year we've ever had. This was the best year we've ever had in every way. We broke pretty much every record we had this year. So it was very good.
I gotta say, it's nice to be sitting here in 2019 talking to you, because if you rewind to 2016 when the company sold, there were a lot of people who weren't sure that by 2019 you'd still be around. There were a lot of people who weren't sure we'd get you out of that room that you went to to disappear in right after the sale. How has the 3 years been since the sale of the company?
Phenomenal. I mean, it's been incredible. To continue to grow the business and do the things that I've always wanted to do, that was my biggest concern. You know, when Ari and I were friends for a very long time, we did business together for a very long time, but you don't know, what it's going to be like. The dynamic between me and the Fertitta brothers was incredible. Mm-hmm. So to be able to do that again with somebody else, very rare and very unique. Mm-hmm. But it's been a blast for me. And if you look at how much growth we've had since 16, I mean, we're having our best year ever this year. And when you look at the fights that we have on the horizon for next year, it's all good stuff.
Yeah, that is why it has worked, right? Is your relationship with Ari. I think if you want to 100%. Simplify it the most.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Ari lets me run this business and do what I do. So.
What's getting harder as time moves on and the sport keeps developing? What's getting harder as a fight promoter?
Nothing. Nothing's getting harder. I mean, the great thing about our business is, as we've gone like this, technology has gone like this, and technology has actually made this a lot easier. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can run a whole show from the office now. There's so many different ways to look at fighters. Back when we bought the company, if I wanted to see some up and coming talent, probably have to fly there and go to the fights and watch the fights. Mm-hmm. Streaming and most of this stuff. Most of these smaller organizations now are on UFC Fight Pass. Mm-hmm. I can watch all of it on UFC Fight Pass, or it'll be on social media immediately after the fight happens. It's a lot easier to run this business than it was 20 years ago.
Fighter pay is always a topic. I think it probably always will be. It is in every business.
Right.
As the president.
Well, money is always going to be the topic. But as the sport continues to go like this, mm-hmm. so does the numbers. Mm-hmm. So it's when you become a star and you become somebody that a world champion, or somebody that can. Ask some of these world champions. The difference in the last year. Yeah. And it's they'll feel it.
What are some of the ceilings that I know that you don't typically give away hard numbers, but can you give an idea of what a star in the UFC is capable of making these days?
It's crazy money. Yeah, I think a lot of people would be shocked if you heard what some of these big stars are making, but I don't ever talk about that. Mm-hmm. Listen, these guys all they know what they make. Mm-hmm. You don't see them talking about it either. Mm-hmm. There's no clause in their contract that says they can do whatever they want to do. Mm-hmm. But they don't want their money out there. They don't want to know that. But if you talk to, obviously Conor McGregor's and guys like Khabib that are huge superstars that have an entire country and an entire race or religion of people following them, mm-hmm. the number is massive. And even somebody like Amanda Nunes, if you look at what females are paid in other sports compared to the males, mm-hmm. and you look at what Amanda Nunes makes here, it's pretty impressive. Well,
I've obviously got some specifics to ask you about 2020, but I want to open the floor to you. I mean, you know what's going on. Tell us what's going to happen over the next year, 2 years, 3 years. What should we be preparing for in 2020? I
mean, you can prepare for what you prepare for every year when we go into a new year. We're going to go into new territories. Mm-hmm. There will always be, I can sit here right now and lay out the fights for you that we're looking at for 2020. There will be a Diaz Masvidal that will pop up out of nowhere, mm-hmm. and be one of the biggest fights of the year. We are going to Fight Pass, which has done phenomenally well since the ESPN deal. We've completely revamped it. We're relaunching it. We're with a new platform. You're going to see big things out of UFC Fight Pass in 2020. I will eventually do my boxing press conference. Had a bunch of phone calls this morning about that. It's it's coming. It's coming.
Mm-hmm. What's been the holdup?
There's always, in any business, there's always things that you don't see coming, and you know, things that you don't expect that you have to deal with. And I've been dealing with that for the last couple of months. I didn't think it was going to be easy to get into boxing. I knew it was going to be tough. That's why I told everybody, kind of sticking my big toe in there. I'm not diving in head first. And, you know, I've got my guy ready. He's chomping at the bit to go, and I'm just waiting for the right moment.
Still don't want to reveal who that guy is?
No. No.
Well, I can tell you're keeping some things close to the vest, but can you give us just some kind of understanding? Because a lot of us are sitting here thinking Dana White's arguably the most successful fight promoter who has ever lived, and you are running into some things that you didn't see coming. That's interesting. You know, what obstacles did you not see coming?
Believe me, I haven't even begun to not see what's coming when we get into boxing. It's a crazy sport, man, and it's been broken for a long time. And for anybody to be arrogant enough to think that they're just going to jump in and fix it overnight is crazy. It won't be. It's going to take years. I mean, this will be another 10 years of my life working on the boxing side of it. So I haven't even begun to run into things that I didn't see coming.
You booked Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson, a fight I think you once told me you would never book again.
Here we are, the fifth one.
You feeling confident? You feeling good?
You know, Tony keeps doing what he's doing. You can't deny Tony this fight. Tony deserves this fight, and hopefully this one happens.
Khabib has said it's the most important fight in UFC history. His father has said the same thing. How would you characterize the significance of a fight between Khabib and Tony?
The way that you can gauge how big and how meaningful a fight really is through the fans. Fans are going crazy for this fight. Fans want to see this fight, so it's a big one. It's a big one. It's very important. You know, a lot of people believe that Tony Ferguson is the guy to beat Khabib. We're going to find out.
And a few months before that, you got Conor McGregor coming back and fighting Cowboy at 170 pounds. And I'm sure you've been getting this question a lot. That surprised a lot of people. Why is this fight at 170 pounds?
Yeah, because Conor wants to fight 3 times this year, and he's hoping that if he beats Cowboy, he can turn right around and fight Khabib. But that timing and math isn't going to work out. But you know Conor. Conor thinks the way Conor thinks. And so his thing is, I'll fight Cowboy, I'll beat Cowboy, and I'll be ready to fight Khabib at 155 if anything happens.
Yeah, we might have to.
Because we're going into Khabib Tony again. So
that's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
maybe
in Conor's mind, Conor would be ready for that fight.
Okay. Well, if the fight does stay together, which I'm hopeful that it does, like you said, the timing might not work out because then Khabib has Ramadan and he wouldn't be available until summer. Would Conor be looking at another fight before then? Or?
I don't know. We're getting through this one first. We'll get through the Cowboy fight, you know, and the level of disrespect shown to Cowboy through this whole thing. Apparently, people forgot. Yeah, Cowboys lost 2 in a row. Cowboys lost 2 in a row before and come back and gone on unbelievable runs. Yeah. So let's not count Cowboy out.
Well, one thing I want to bring up to you, because it was a reaction I saw, and I saw it from fans. I definitely saw it from Justin Gaethje. He said, why is Conor McGregor going to get a 155-pound title shot if he fights at 170 pounds? How does that all kind of fit in if the fight's at 170 and you're talking about a potential rematch at 155? Come on,
guys. Conor, look what Conor's done over the last however many years, right? And, you know, and then he loses to Khabib in a fight that was, you know, when you talk about bad blood, it's like next level of bad blood. And, you know, Gaethje was on his way up too. And we've offered Gaethje a lot of fights that Gaethje hasn't taken either. So Conor is in line next for this fight if he beats Cowboy.
You almost look at it as like this is a 155 fight, but they're just not cutting weight.
100%. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's a 155-pound fight that they're not cutting weight for. And realistically, you know, when Conor said, I want to do this fight at 170, and then gave me the reasoning that he wanted to do it, I was like, yeah, there's no way Cowboy is going to argue with that.
No.
Right? Why cut the weight if they both agree that they don't want to cut weight?
Do you think it makes the fight more difficult for Conor fighting Cowboy at 170?
Well, the other thing is that Conor has this idea, too, that if things don't go his way, you know, and he gets the fight, he'll have had a 170 fight in his pocket again and considering a Masvidal fight.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I think everybody knows what I think about it. I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, Masvidal's a big guy.
I think it's a bad idea, but Conor gets pissed off when I say that it's a bad idea. And he's like, you think I can't beat Masvidal? And, you know, that whole thing. But I'm not saying that you can't beat Masvidal. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day, but why?
Yeah.
Why go after that fight when you could possibly just wait and
Yeah.
But listen. This is the reason that Conor McGregor is so intriguing and why so many fans love to watch him fight.
You ever think
and
about
you got to love the fact that a guy is willing to fight anybody.
For sure.
I mean, believe me, I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. I've been in the trenches, and when we're standing in the living room and fights pull out, Conor McGregor will fight anybody. So.
You ever think about when you're on the phone with Conor and he's in that mood and you're having those types of conversations, just throw him on speakerphone and put a camera up? I think people would fall in love with the guy even more if they heard some of these conversations you have.
100%. 100%. I'm the guy that's had the conversations with every fighter on the roster, and they all don't jump to take last-minute replacement fights. Conor doesn't care.
How about Masvidal? He won the BMF, and you said that was a one and done. You had some fun with it. It seemed like it was really popular. Would you consider bringing it back, especially if Conor got that fight?
Conor wants that belt.
Yeah.
Conor wants that belt from Masvidal.
Yeah. So we might be looking at more than a one-off with that.
I don't know. I did it as a one-off, and like I said, it was fun. It was awesome. We'll see what happens.
I think they call this when the inmates run the asylum, right?
Yeah,
is that what it is?
You got that one.
Another fight that Jorge talked about was Nick Diaz. And Nick came out and did an interview. It was the first interview in a while. And he expressed kind of some interest in fighting. Have you heard from Nick since he came out and said?
I haven't, but I know that our matchmakers have. But,
they have?
Yeah, but I said it before and I'll say it again. I don't think Nick Diaz wants to fight. I don't think Nick has that love and that passion for fighting. I think it's sort of a love-hate relationship for him, All the things that Nick has done is because of fighting, but I don't think he loves to do it.
You get the sense, or your matchmakers get the sense that he is serious? Do you want him to come back? Do you think it's a good idea for Nick Diaz to come back to fight?
That's up to Nick. Nick knows whether he wants to fight or not. You can't, there's guys that I think should be finished, like I think should retire, and because I don't want to see them get hurt, or maybe I feel that they can't compete at this level anymore. And then there's guys that, they know whether they want to fight or not. They have to make that decision on their own. This isn't baseball or basketball or one of those sports where you can go out and just half-ass it. You got to be 100% in if you come, especially here. If you come to fight in the UFC, these guys are the best in the world, and they're savages that want to become world champions. And if you're not in the right mindset, this is not the place for you.
Tough to come back to that after the time that he's taken off and fight a top guy like that.
Yeah.
Well, last question as we wrap up the sort of this 150, 170 picture. I asked you this last month when we were talking about a potential Conor fight, and the New York Times has reported that he is being investigated, or he's the subject of investigations in sexual assaults in Dublin. And I asked you, how does the promotion kind of look at that? He hasn't been charged with anything, but what impact does that have on your decision?
He hasn't been charged with anything.
Decision to book him a fight?
You just said it. He hasn't been charged with anything. You can't stop a guy's ability to make a living when he hasn't been charged with anything. And everything that Conor has. Listen, has Conor made a lot of bad decisions over the last few years? Unbelievable amount of bad decisions. But everything that he was involved in, the cell phone slapping incident, he pleaded guilty and he paid the guy. The guy that he punched in the bar in Ireland, he pleaded guilty and he settled with the guy. I mean, everything that he's been accused of, he's handled and done.
Right.
Or charged with, I should say. Everything he's been charged with. He hasn't been charged with anything here. How are you going to stop a guy from making a living when he hasn't been charged?
Okay, we'll do some rapid fire here to get through some of the other divisions. Middleweight, you got to fight for Israel Adesanya yet?
We're looking at Yoel Romero.
Okay, any time frame?
He wants that fight. He wants to fight Yoel Romero. Nobody wants to fight Yoel Romero. Okay, nobody's screaming, "I want Yoel Romero."
Yeah.
He is.
Okay, any time frame on that?
Yeah, but we're not announcing it yet.
Still figuring it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Light heavyweight Jon Jones. I mean, he's fighting Dominic Reyes, who is undefeated. Very worthy title challenger. If he gets past him, do you see anything else at light heavyweight, or do you think it's time for Jon Jones to go up to heavyweight?
That's such a massive fight for Jon Jones. Dominic Reyes is a bad boy, and young, hungry, and this is going to be a very interesting fight for Jon Jones. And this is another one of those fights. Dominic Reyes isn't this big name guy that you know. But if you know fighting, Dominic Reyes is the real deal and a very tough challenge for Jones. He gets through this fight and wins again. I mean, Jones is a freak of nature, and it's again, there's all this GOAT talk, and you know me, I'm the one screaming the loudest that Amanda Nunes, the GOAT, and but Jon Jones beats Dominic Reyes. I don't know, and I don't know about him going to heavyweight. I think he's comfortable, at light heavyweight, and every time that you think there's not another challenger for Jon Jones, there's another challenge for Jon Jones. Yep. So I don't know. We'll have to see how this thing plays out. He's got to get through Dominic Reyes first before you even start thinking about heavyweight or anything else.
And then at heavyweight, you got Stipe and DC. I think that's obviously the plan, right?
Incredible fight.
Obvious
the
fight.
The first two were awesome. Yep. And we'll button up that trilogy, and then we'll figure out where we go from there.
And then I got to ask you about your Chinese champion, Zhang Weili. What was the significance of her winning a belt, coming from that area of the world?
Huge. And she continues to grow over there and become a star. She'll fight and try to defend her belt here in Vegas is what I want. So we'll see how that plays out. And then I think after, when you have somebody who's from another country and they're on the rise, when you start fighting in Vegas, it makes a big impact on them at home. And she just did this show in China where 1.3 billion people watched it. And if she can continue to defend that belt, she's going to be a massive star, maybe one of the biggest stars ever in UFC history.
They're telling me to wrap, but so I got to make this real quick. Floyd Mayweather, what kind of details can you give us on that? You guys sit down at a basketball game, overtime in Los Angeles. Who starts the conversation, and how did the conversation go?
We both started talking, and the easiest way to explain it to you is Floyd and I both feel that we add value to each other, and we're going to figure something out. I'm probably going to some things have to play out, and then I'm going to start talking to Heyman maybe this summer, and I'll have something for Floyd in the fall.
For him to compete, or for him to just be a partner with you?
Compete.
Compete. He wants to compete.
Yeah, the money is in Floyd competing.
In the UFC?
We'll see. We'll see where.
All right, so don't ask you about it till the summer then, maybe.
Yeah, listen, we could do some crossover stuff here, or we could do something in boxing. And our last experience, Floyd was actually pretty easy to deal with, and Heyman is incredible to deal with. Floyd and I got a handshake deal at the basketball game, and we'll get the rest figured out.
Last question for you: what is your general opinion on crossover fights? Because it seems like every week we see one in the headlines, and everyone's calling for them. So when, as a promoter, will Dana White put on a crossover fight?
When the demand is there, when I believe, I felt the demand for McGregor versus Mayweather. I felt it, and I knew it would be big. So we started talking. I bumped into 50 Cent in New York, and he said, Floyd wants to fight your boy. And I said, my boy who? What boy? And he's like, the Irish kid. And I'm like, he'll kill him, because I'm thinking MMA. And he's like, he ain't going to we'll box him. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. And he's like, you serious, man? I'll call him right now. And I was like, and then that's how it all really got started. And then everywhere I went, it was all anybody asked me about. Then once I started to really feel it, that's when I started to take it serious. And I made an offer.
So it would take that kind of demand to ever do it again?
Yeah. I don't know. Listen, the biggest pay-per-view ever in pay-per-view history. It'll be interesting if we start to see that kind of demand again with any kind of crossover fight.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.